Yeah.
it's just a lot. It's a lot, and it's just one more like social media kind of app that I have to we all have to kind of be on. But yeah, so just getting into this, I kind of just want to start with like your role at Nebraska, assistant AD for marketing and revenue strategy. If you kind of just want to oversee or kind of talk about your role and kind of what you do there.
Yeah. So, although I don't have like game day or fan experience in my title anymore, I still kind of am in that role a little bit as we're kind of transitioning the next like, year or so. So I kind of have two jobs. One part of it is I produce our volleyball games, which, if you know about Nebraska volleyball, is kind of like a big deal here. So I do that. So kind of putting together marketing plans and kind of executing the day to day stuff of like scripts and whatever we're doing in game. And that's probably a little smaller part of my job. And then the bigger part is kind of the revenue generating side where I'm kind of like our main person to communicate with our fans through like email or digital advertising for anything from coming out of our marketing department or our ticketing department. And then I also do a little bit with our development team. So just kind of like anytime tickets are going on sale or we're trying to promote a big game coming up, or right now as we're going through getting ready for like renewal stuff for football and bowl game announcements and different things like that, I'm kind of our hub that like puts all that communication together and works with our comms team and our digital graphics side to like get all of our stuff ready, and then putting it out to our fans. So I kind of moved to that role in July of this summer or of 2020. What year are we in? 2025. And kind of took over like the big ticketing role of all of our communication. So it was kind of all like in one spot. So yeah, that's kind of what my new role is. And as you see, we're getting ready to announce a lot of concerts and different things like that. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
constantly, making sure our calendars are up to date with everything we have going on, and we're not kind of blasting our fans with like 12 different on sales in one day, and kind of like having a strategy around making sure kind of everything is organized and not blasting our fans all at once.
Yeah, no, I've experienced that with just trying to like send emails out just on the ticketing side for like, hey, we have so and so club here that's available for an upgrade this week. For instance, our last football game is this Friday, which kind of stinks because it's at 11 right after Thanksgiving. So, having to kind of travel back up to Lawrence that day. But yeah, we had some club space availability, and I was reaching out and our marketing team was like, hey, we already did that, or just kind of making sure that you're communicating and stuff like that. For your instance, how do you balance all that? You got a lot going on, obviously, especially with like you mentioned volleyball, which is a powerhouse in the sport at Nebraska. So how do you balance kind of dipping your toe with like you said, development, like the ticketing side, and then obviously your main role marketing?
Yeah, thankfully I'm a pretty organized person. If you were to look at my desk right now, there's probably like 75 sticky notes or whiteboards written on or something. But we also keep a calendar, between myself and our email person over on the development side. We kind of run this whole calendar. Anytime anything needs to go out, it's going to go through either me or her. That way, nothing's going out that we don't know about, and B, nobody's able to add to the calendar that we aren't approving. So I kind of do that. I also try to work, a couple days ahead, or in this situation with it being Thanksgiving, like I would really like to have a day off. So I'm trying to get stuff done maybe for next week, this week, so I'm not having to work on like, Friday or Saturday. And just like you, we have an 11 a.m. football game on Friday, and then we have volleyball that night and volleyball on Saturday, selection show on Sunday. So it's like you're not really getting a break, but you're trying to, stay organized and stay a couple days ahead so that hopefully you can get some time off. But I'm just big on calendars. We also have teams groups that we kind of keep everything in, kind of keep everything in line. That way that, the approvals are happening and everybody who needs to be a part of a communication of something is on the same thing. And that way that like when changes are being made, we're staying organized to know like being able to follow a timeline of like what needs to be changed, that we're making sure everything is going out correctly. I also leave myself a lot of reminders in my phone. Like if I think of something late at night, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do, this in the morning or whatever it may be, and just try to stay as organized as I can between sticky notes and whiteboards and different groups. It's kind of like we talked about keeping up with social media. I'm trying to keep up with all my reminders I've left in 20 different places.
Yeah, yeah. My notes app is the go-to every day. I feel like I'm always constantly on that, or reminders. Yeah, reminders
Yeah.
on the iPhone and stuff like that. So what goes into like a specific campaign if you have a big event coming up? I know the volleyball a couple years back, you had the highest attendance in volleyball history. Which congrats, that's a big accomplishment. That's awesome. But what goes into something as big as that, or as little as, hey, it's just a non-conference game coming next week?
Not just volleyball history, world history. Just
Yeah,
like,
yeah. World,
but
sorry,
yeah,
sorry, world history.
well,
Yeah.
no, you're good. I think it's just kind of sitting down and talking through when it's something as, as large as Volleyball Day in Nebraska, where when we sat down to, think about planning it and going on sale with things, we were in the mindset that we really had no idea how many tickets we were going to sell. So we were kind of throwing everything at the wall of like, what kind of campaigns do we have to come up with to, A, to get our information out there, but B, to hopefully get people to click on something and buy a ticket for it, right? Where when it comes back to a game at Devaney, like we're sold out every single night. We don't really have to ask people to come, which is great. It's a good problem to have. So I kind of think it depends on what your overall end goal with. When we have some sports that we have a lot of tickets for, like women's basketball or basketball in general, where we have tickets to sell, I think our thing going into a campaign is like, A, we're always going to reach out to people who have bought in the past. They were clearly interested. Maybe they want to come back. And then once we have them on board, it's like, okay, now who can we reach out to that maybe is like an avid fan but doesn't come very often, or even just like, maybe they like basketball but they've never been to a Nebraska basketball game. Like, how do we get them on board with the Huskers? So just kind of different ways, different segments. I always brag about this, but like we have different interest groups for our sports that we've built through emails. You know, I think we started them back in like 2022 and have kind of grown. And we have one for every single sports, even our non-ticketed sports. And those all started
Mhm.
by just general interest because we don't have tickets, so we couldn't like start them with people who had bought tickets. But like we have a rifle group that has
Yeah.
20,000 people in it. And it's like, are 20,000 people interested in rifle? Probably not, but we had 20,000 fans who said they wanted to receive information about rifle. And I don't even know how well you know
Yeah.
rifle, but like you can't even really go watch it. Like you go sit in a room and you watch
Yeah.
it on a screen. So it's super interesting. So, but at the same time, it causes us, I would say, more issues because when we send out, 5 or 6 emails a day and we have these interest groups that are so big, we don't want people to receive 5 different emails about 5 different things. So we have to be way
Hmm.
more like segmented and targeted on our things. So like, yes, our interest groups are great and we use them a lot, but we can't always rely on them because what we've learned is Nebraska fans are super nice. So sometimes they maybe aren't interested in that sport, but they're going to say they are because they were too nice to say they weren't, right?
Hmm.
And so we have to be really targeted in terms of like dialing it down to like, yes, they're interested, but they also bought a ticket or they visited this website. And that's kind of how we go into all of our different campaigns because sometimes you can't help it, but we have to send 5 or 6 different emails a day. So like if we can be as targeted as possible, then we're hoping our fans maybe only received one or two. And I think that we get lucky that each one of our different campaigns is different. So like volleyball is a lot easier because we don't have a whole lot to sell and everyone probably already knows everything about it because they're so popular. I think it's funny, like our fans will put on like social or something and be like, you guys should do a blackout. And then like maybe a month later or something, we announce we're doing a blackout at football or like we're doing a blackout at volleyball this weekend. And instantly our fans are like, they did that because of me. Like they did that because I put it out on Twitter. And it's like, well, no, in
Yeah.
reality, we've actually been working and planning on it for, 5 months or a year or
Hmm.
whatever it may be. And so I think that's something like our fans don't realize is like probably 100% of what we're doing, or maybe even 50% of what we're doing is like we've been working on it for a while. We've been planning, we're in meetings, we're trying to think of every little thing to announce it or execute it, or what can we do to like step up from the year before. And I think people on the outside looking in thinks it just like happens. Like we just wake
Hmm.
up one day and we're like, all right, we're gonna do a blackout today, and magically 90,000 people show up in black. Like it just doesn't work that way. And almost everything we're doing, whether an email down to a game day promotion, is like it started with a room of people sitting there, talking about different things to do, and that's how it is. And I think it would be interesting if people knew like truly what went into almost
Yeah.
everything we do. It would just happen.
Most of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they might
It'd
think
make
it
our
is,
life
but
easier if it wasn't. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think outside of like, not working as much game day, when I first started here, I did men's basketball, volleyball, and I worked football. Now, obviously, I'm just in volleyball. But I think outside of just losing the game day role, my role hasn't changed too much because honestly, when I got here in 2022, I think it was, we weren't doing the email and the digital advertising stuff because A, we didn't have to. We didn't have any tickets to sell, or at least that was, what people thought. At least we didn't have any tickets to sell. But two, we also just had nobody either doing it or wanting to do it. And when I came here from Purdue, that was like my favorite part of my job was doing the digital communication. When I got here, people were transitioning out of roles that used to do it, and I just kind of took it over and wanted to run with it. And I think I loved it so much that I wanted to go above and beyond what we truly at the time just needed, which was just someone to start it and do it. And so I was starting and doing it, and then kind of like, taking it to a whole new level, and people saw that. And
what does that look like?
over the years,
Like
in
when
terms of
you're,
like,
how do you?
yeah. I think it looked more like I would be like, hey, look here, I did this. And since people weren't used to it here, people were like, we can do that? That's crazy. Like, it was more of like, I was kind of teaching a lot of people here the things that we had the capability of doing that no one knew we even could do. Or even no one knew that they wanted to do it. And at the time of me coming back, it was like our marketing staff wasn't doing that. So I was kind of meeting with our staff being like, hey, I know you want to do like a radio ad, but have you thought about doing this digital campaign instead? And it was like kind of just showing people new avenues that we could take and how we could hit people in like a whole new light. And so it kind of just honestly, it looked like for people that were above me was like, oh, that's really cool. I had no idea we could do that. Like, oh, we should do it again. And then it was like, well, I don't want to keep doing the same thing for every single sport. Like, we need to do new things. And then I would just do that. And then they would be like, well, then I got to the point where it was like, well, what else can we do? Or like, or can we do this and this and this? And it's like, yeah, we can. That's pretty normal. Which I think, to go back to like your original question, like it helped me kind of transition into this new role that I have because I showed all this stuff I could do and I showed how well it was helping us. I mean, we could put into numbers how much revenue we could bring in just through an email, right? And now in the world we live in now, how important revenue generating is, it was like, well, why weren't we doing this before? If we can make all this money, why weren't we doing it? And it's like, well, we didn't have anyone to do it. Now we do.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like, we now realize like we can put money behind it, especially with like digital advertising, because if we're putting money into it, but we're getting way more money out of it, like it's clearly helping us. And we were able to see our venues grow and our attendance grow. And now it helps like when we're good at sports, like that obviously helps all the time, right? But there's sometimes where like you could be really good, but you're playing a nobody. Like, how do you fight that balance of still getting people in your venues, right? So yeah, I think I think it really helped me kind of transition into my new role because we were realizing there's so much more we could do, but when game day is my main priority, I didn't have enough time to fully like dive into this world. Now, once volleyball's over, I can, and then we can blow it up for every single different sport. So it's kind of fun to see how much we've transitioned since 2022.
Digital so a lot. What were some challenges?
Sorry, I was gonna say, I would joke that like when I was in college, like I never learned to do social media or like sell tickets online because I think like not to show my age, but like my senior year, I think Twitter started. So like I didn't know how to promote, sports marketing on social media. Like I didn't learn that in school, right? And so I think to your point, like it's really cool now to see how much like that's changed and how important that is and how like you get to see the people that have probably been doing sports marketing way longer than I ever have, like having to learn to like get on board with that. It's kind of fun, I guess. I think one of the biggest ones for me was like seeing just how quickly our fan behavior would change with it all. Like they were seeing our stuff more than ever, not just through like stuff we were doing in the marketing department, but also like our digital team, like getting more access to our teams than ever before. But we were seeing how quickly it was changing that like maybe one thing would work for volleyball, but it wasn't going to work for men's basketball, or maybe one thing would work for this season, but it wasn't going to work the next year. And then as fast as I thought that was changing within a year, I think it's changing even faster now. Like one thing's
Yeah.
cool one week and then the next week it's not cool, right? So it's like one, we're constantly have to keeping up with what is cool these days with the kids or whatever. But we also have an
Mhm.
older fan base, so we have to keep up what's cool with them too. And so like as much as I would love to leave Facebook behind and never look at it again, like I understand that's very important for us, especially with like
Yeah.
some of our sports like women's basketball, it's like an older crowd. Like we have to be on Facebook. But then like the younger soccer is like all over TikTok. So like we have to be able to one adjust with our fans but also adjust with our sports as well as our platforms. So kind of just keeping up how quickly those trends are and being ready to like put an ad out and then rip it down the next day because now I don't know 6-7 or whatever that is isn't cool anymore and maybe we ran that ad too long. I don't know. I don't even actually know what 6-7 means, so I just go with
I don't
it.
think
But
anyone does. I
um,
don't think anyone
no, I
does.
don't. My niece and nephew say it to me all the time, and I'm like, I sure, I guess, yeah.
No. I said it to my
But
cousin
yeah,
who's
just
like,
yeah. You're like I might have said something bad. I don't really know. But yeah, so just kind of keeping up with that, I think was a bigger challenge. Where now I'm kind of our middleman for all of our sports when it comes to advertising. So I'm working with our marketing department for every single sport. So it's kind of just changing minute by minute. But then also, I think another surprise for me was just now that I'm working with three different departments with marketing, ticketing, and development. It's like making sure we're all like, yes, we may all have different priorities and different things we're striving towards. In the end, our goal is all the same. It's all making revenue for our athletics department. And so, like, yeah, we might have different messages for different things going out, but in the end, we need to make sure we're on the same page and driving towards like that number one goal of Nebraska athletics. So it's just like going
mm,
back to like staying on the same page, making sure we're pushing the same message, making sure that like yes, we may be pushing this for one department, but in the end, like we are Nebraska athletics, and that's what's most important. So just kind of keeping the communication up and making sure we're all on the same page. Yeah. Well, at the same time, you have to please your coaching staff. So like, yeah, it might
mhm.
be cool amongst the players, but like if a certain head coach sees us posting something like that, like they may not like it. So it's like you're to your point, you're balancing the trends, you're also balancing your coaching staff and your players and it's just like a lot of things that go into it and hopefully I guess you don't miss the trend.
Kind of balanced.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think the most important thing is just like we need to know who our audience is, right? Like who are we targeting for each different sport. And then I think for us, it's just like kind of exploring different things. Like, for instance, right now for women's basketball, we're kind of throwing everything at it. So we're doing Facebook for the older generation. We're doing just like standard generic graphics that are like, hey, single game tickets on sale now. Here, get them today. But then we're also kind of trying new and fun things. Like, we're learning that like to your point of like day in the life and content like that is performing a lot better for us. So we're trying that as well. But we don't want to rule out, not targeting our older generation or the people who do like Facebook ads like that. Like, because we want everyone to be there. We want to sell as many tickets as we can. So I think kind of trying, especially early in the season when we haven't started Big Ten play, maybe our opponents aren't as great as it is going to be in conference play, but kind of trying everything and then taking our numbers and then kind of evaluating after that, and also just not doing the same thing every time. So like we're not going to run all these ads throughout the season. We're going to see what performs best and then make an adjustment from there. Or like what I think women's basketball is probably my favorite example to give you right now is because we are trying everything, but then we are adjusting and changing everything like almost weekly. Like I'm sure my marketing person for women's basketball is like, I'm pretty sure she says this. She's like, sorry to bug you, like here's some new stuff. And I'm like, no, it's great. Like let's switch it out as much as
Yeah.
possible because our numbers are through the roof right now for women's basketball. And I
Nice.
think that probably is the next sport that's kind of like growing like volleyball is, especially
Yeah.
with the Caitlin Clarks of the world and all that, like how much publicity she's gotten. So I think it's just like it goes back to trend, like staying on trend, but also like knowing what works for us, continuing to try new things, and like if it fails, it fails. Whatever, we move on and we try something new, and like we've seen ones fail. Like there was a couple of videos we tried, it did not work. We sold no tickets, but we did see like people clicked on it and we got views. So it's like, okay, well, how do we change this and make it different for the next thing? And that's just kind of been our motto because it's our first year we've done digital advertising in a few years. So it's like we really don't have anything to look back on and see what worked and what didn't work for us. So this is kind of our trial year, and see what works best for Nebraska athletics, but then also like our individual sports too. So we're excited. I think you got to just keep trying because, like we
Yeah.
keep saying in this interview, like things are changing so fast. So we're just
Yeah.
trying to keep up at this point and hope that new things happen.
Like you mentioned.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And to your point, it's like you talked all about players and coaches. Like that's so important. Like it, as much as like we always say, winning solves everything, right? Like sometimes that doesn't always work. So to your point of like Dylan Raiola, Matt Rule, like you have to capitalize on big people and big moments because we obviously can't help them win. So it's like is if we can capitalize on anything else, like I mean, we have a couple big name women's basketball players that like we feature a lot, especially in like the really natural content because that's like the big thing right now is fans just want to see like what are they doing off the court or what's it like in the locker room, and so it's like we can capitalize off that and show our fans something. We might also be able to sell tickets with it, which is what in the end what we're trying to do. We want butts and seats, like that's our biggest thing, right? So yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that. But yes, our stars, our coaches, like anything we can capitalize off that for sure.
Going back, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So, like you said, I went to Nebraska. I actually started college as an athletic training major. I really wanted to be in like the medical field, but like I loved playing sports. I wanted to do something in sports. So I went to school to be a trainer, and my first like month as an athletic training or training student, I had to wrap a football player's ankles, and I realized like in the moment how much I hated feet. And I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't do this for the rest of my life. Like, what was I thinking? And it was literally like, I think I was maybe 3 months into school. So, like, in my head, like, it was all over. Like, I just, what am I supposed to do? My career is over,
world's
like, whatever.
world's collapsed. Yeah.
Yeah, super dramatic. It was 3 months in. But I called my mom and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I have to quit. Like, whatever. Like, feet are the worst thing ever. And so I had, going into Christmas break, I had got out of athletic training major. And so I was kind of undeclared, didn't really know what I wanted to do. At the time, like I mentioned earlier, like, Twitter wasn't a thing. So I didn't even know sports marketing was a career or it wasn't happening. Like, you don't see it like you see it now. And I saw in my dorm a flyer to be like a Nebraska athletics marketing intern. So I was like, oh, I love sports. That sounds fun. Like, might as well try. Don't know how I got it. Like, I obviously didn't have any experience outside of just being an athlete. And so I got it. And after probably like 2 years as an intern here, my advisors were like, hey, you got to pick a major. Like, you can't graduate without a major. And so I was like, oh, well, marketing's fun. I'll do that. So, ended up graduating with 2 degrees, one in marketing and one in sports psychology, because I thought it would be cool to be like a sports psychologist. Even though my friends like to tell me I was way too mean for that. I was way too honest if they were bad at sports. So probably not a good idea. But yeah, no, graduated here after being an intern here for 4 years in the marketing department. And then I went to Marquette for 2 years, did men's basketball, women's basketball, men's and women's lacrosse there, which was the first time I'd ever experienced lacrosse. So that was kind of like a cool new thing for me. And then after that, I went to Purdue. I spent 5 years there, kind of started as a assistant director of marketing, did everything from volleyball, women's basketball, wrestling, until like 2019, I took over football, which to me, like that was like the end goal in my head was like to do football at a Power 5 school or Power 4, whatever we're calling it now. And so like I had kind of reached my goal and I just thought that was like the coolest thing ever. Eventually got promoted to associate director, and then COVID hit, and I think kind of we all got in that slump of like, wow, life's really fun when you don't work like 50 hours a week and have games every single night. Like that's kind of interesting. Kind of at the time I had fallen out of being in love with game day, which as you know, like if you don't love it, you're not passionate about it, it's not fun to work all those hours. Like you truly have to have a love and a passion for it. And at the time I had also taken over all of our digital advertising and our email marketing at Purdue. And when I took it over, I'll be completely honest with you, when I took it over, I hated it. I thought it was so dumb. I don't want to do this. I was so mad that I had to do it. And then when I took on football and had like a bigger role in that digital space, I fell in love with it. And then I was like, oh man, like this is actually really fun. I'm glad I get to be a part of it. And then it was kind of like as the end of the 21 football season was coming to an end, I was telling my boss, I'm like, I don't want to do game day anymore. Like, I think I want to move into this digital space. Like, is there opportunity for me to do that? And he kind of created this role for me where I was doing everybody's emails and everybody's digital advertising, and kind of we started it from scratch, and I kind of ran with it. And then fast forward to how many years later, I'm at Nebraska and now kind of in charge of all that. So it was all because of taking it over, and not very happy about taking it over at Purdue, and
Yeah.
now it's like my favorite part of my job, and I love it. And obviously, like, now my whole career is kind of wrapped around the job I didn't want to have at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I came back to Nebraska in February of 2022 as director of marketing, getting back in game day, which was really hard for me, if I'm going to be really honest. I didn't want to get back into game day, but I wanted to come home to Nebraska. I wanted to work for the Huskers again, and I'm born and raised here, so it was really coming home for me. So I was willing to
Yeah.
kind of get back into something that I didn't necessarily love to be able to come home.
Hmm.
And then fast forward, 3 years later, and I'm in this role that I love, and I've kind of, what we talked about earlier, started on my own and kind of have made it what it is, and super excited to be a part of it and see where it grows from here.
Thought I'd be an M.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. Um, I think I learned that, one, you have to take chances, right? Like, me, when I left here as an intern, like, I was begging my boss at Nebraska to keep me. I'm like, please, just like, you don't have to pay me, just make a job. Like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to move away from home. Like, I'm such a baby. And the
Yeah.
best thing I ever did was move away from home, right? Like, I learned so much leaving Nebraska. I learned things that I think if I would have stayed here in a different role, I would never have been able to add to my career.
Hmm.
And I think going to Purdue is like, I really grew up professionally. I mean, I started at Purdue at like 24 years old. Like, I was young in my career still, but I learned so much through just, it's just a different place. Like, our fans here in Nebraska are crazy and dedicated and stuff, and it's not like that everywhere, right? So you really have
Hmm.
to fight to get fans to come to games, and I was not used to that at all. Like, I remember going to my first volleyball game and I was confused 8,000 people weren't there. Like, it was crazy to me. And so I
Yeah.
learned so much, just how to be better at my job, how not to do things because of certain things I didn't like, how I wanted to be a leader. I mean, my boss at Purdue, Chris Belliot, he still to this day is my mentor. Like, he is the greatest person I've ever worked for. And just getting to see how he ran his departments and how I knew like what I wanted to do one day if I ever got to ran a department. But also I learned, to your point, like, I fell out of love with the career that I loved more than anything in the world when I graduated. And I fell out of love with that. And I had to learn to like something else. Otherwise, I needed to go back to school or like go find a new career. And if you would have asked me 10 years ago if I would have liked making emails and looking to see how many people clicked on our emails, or, like what our click to open rate was, I would have been like, you're crazy. I'm never doing that. And now I'm like
Hmm.
jacked that our unsubscribe rate 0. Like, I brag about it all
Yeah.
the time, and people are like, cool. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm just like, but you don't understand. Like, we sent 500 emails and no one unsubscribed. Like, it's
I
awesome.
know.
But yeah, it's just, I think I just learned a lot just on everything, like
Hmm.
everything about my career, everything about me personally, and just how to be able to tailor everything back to the fan base you're currently working in, because no place is the same, right? Like, you can
Yeah.
try to take new things to other places, and that's sports marketing. Like, we all steal each other's ideas. It's no secret, but you have
Oh
to
yeah.
make it your own and you have to tailor it. And I think trying to take what I did at Nebraska to Purdue didn't always work. But I can't take what I did at Purdue to Nebraska. Like, you really have to kind of make it your own, and I think that was really cool to learn.
Making it for your leaving home growth
Oh
and
my gosh, I loved Purdue. Just living there in general, like, it reminds me of Nebraska, which I'm sure looks just like
yeah.
Kansas. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very
Yeah. Lots of
Midwest of you. Yeah, you don't know if you're in Nebraska, Kansas, Illinois,
yeah.
Indiana, any of that. It all looks the same. And then it was cool though, because, and this reminded me of Nebraska too, is like, you only ever felt like you were in a college town like when you were down by campus. But if you like go 10 minutes out, like, you don't know that you're one of a big universities right there, right?
Hmm.
But I also thought it was cool because I had never experienced this, but like, I thought it was cool that you had another Big Ten opponent like in the same state as you. Like, I've obviously worked in I worked at Marquette where you had Wisconsin down the road, but you weren't in the same conference, so like it was really only
Yeah.
important one time a year. But like it was so cool having Indiana not only in the same state, but like we were only an hour, maybe an hour and a half away from each other. So like that was kind of
Yeah.
different. And you just never knew like it was hard to promote your games, then you'd be like, yeah, but the people 10 minutes down the road are actually IU fans or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but Purdue as a whole, like I loved working there. It's it's very like blue collar, like hardworking. You don't have all the resources to like that we have that you probably have at Kansas, and so you kind of
Yeah.
had to find new ways to be creative with what you had. But also like they're really good at a lot of things. I mean, when I was there, we were really good at football. They're always really good at basketball. They're like in the
Yeah.
top 10 for volleyball. So it was like it was fun because you were good in almost everything. So the excitement
Hmm.
around the program. I mean, I was there when Jeff Brom was there, and I'll never forget my first year was Brom's first year, and I'm probably gonna get the record wrong, but I think we were like 6-4, 7-4, or something for football. And we made a bowl game. Obviously, they hadn't made a bowl game in a while. And I remember
Hmm.
like months after the bowl game hearing the record on the radio, and I was like, "That was our record." Like you would have thought we were like 13 and
Yeah.
0. Like the
Yeah.
excitement was just so big because they hadn't won in so long.
Mhm.
So it was awesome. I love it. If you ever get an opportunity to work at Purdue, like I highly recommend it. It's so much
Yeah.
fun there.
All the fans can't really. We're
Yeah,
still struggling to make a
we're
bowl
kind of
game
the
this year.
same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're kind
It's
of the same
like.
way.
Yeah, I know. We had three. You should very going back. You just
Yeah.
got taking the time.
Yeah, I think the biggest one is something I kind of touched on earlier is like you can't be scared. Like whether it
Yeah.
comes to moving or taking a chance or God forbid if you're, in a certain thing and they ask you to do something else, like take a chance on doing it because you might like it more. That's what happened with me. Um,
Yeah.
like I tell this to all my interns now. Like I wanted to stay in Nebraska too. I get that. Like you want to stay home. It's the best thing. But the best thing you can do for your career and even like you personally is like leave. Like leave, get to know something else because like everything I do in my job now is not what I learned when I was an intern at Nebraska. It's what I learned going to work at Marquette or Purdue or whatever other little
Yeah.
internship I was doing. That's where my skills now come from. That's where everything I've learned to do, not to do, whatever it may be, is because of the experience I went and got. And we always say here in Nebraska, like, we want people to look at things through different lenses, but like, if you stay here for 10, 20, 30 years and you never go anywhere else, like, you don't have any other lens to look through, right?
Hmm.
So just try new things, go out. And if you go, like, people want to look down at smaller schools that aren't Power Four or whatever it is, but the best experience I got was at Marquette because, yes, I was a marketing person, but I also had to play events. I also had to do ticketing. Like, you wear so many hats when you're at smaller schools that you learn a lot of things that you can bring into your daily life. Yeah, do I want to wear 20 different hats? No, but it's like that was great
Yeah.
experience for me to take. Now I never want to sell tickets. Like I do not envy you people that have to sell tickets. I do not want to make calls. I don't want to do any of that. But like at least try it once,
Fun.
right? And then our SWA here at Nebraska, Kristen Brown. I was on a panel with her a couple months ago, and she said someone asked her for advice, and she said, "Be where your feet are planted." And I thought that was such good advice, and it kind of sticks with me today. But it's like, especially our generation. I say ours. I'm not super young, but our generation or the younger generation is like
Hmm.
they only kind of care about what's next, right? Like, what's the next
Yeah.
thing you're gonna do? What's the next job you're gonna get? Or you see like your friend got a promotion or this person's success or whatever it may be, and that's all you're concerned about. But it's like you can't get the next job unless you're really good in the job you're currently in. So it's like
Yeah.
focus on where your
Exactly.
feet are planted, sell with what you're doing, and then you look at your new thing. And especially I think like us in sports, it's really hard to compare ourselves to what our friends are doing if they're not in sports. I have so many friends who didn't even go to college and they're probably doing way more than I am and making way more money. And it's like, I can't compare myself to you because we're not the
Hmm.
same. So it's like,
Yeah.
kind of stay where your feet are planted, focus on yourself, take risks, take challenges. If you have an opportunity to move, like, it's not permanent. I
Hmm.
knew I wasn't ever going to stay in West Lafayette for the rest of my life. Like, you're gonna get a chance to go where you want to go as long as you work your butt off and make connections and use them if you need to and use them if you can. But yeah, just work hard. I mean, this is a as you know, this is a tough industry to be in. it's not always fun. To your point of like, we have an 11 a.m. football game on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. Like, it's
Yep.
supposed to snow here. I'm sure it's supposed to snow in Kansas. Like, that's
Yeah.
not fun, but we do it.
Yeah. No, it's all, and
Yeah,
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 especially.
yeah. Well, I always tell like our interns, and I say this because my boss, when I was an intern here, used to say this to me, but it's like there's probably what 80% of the job you do, this job you're not gonna love. Like our interns right now
Yeah.
are moving 10,000 rally towels. That's not fun. But there's
Yeah.
like the 20% of your job that you do that you love, and it makes up for that 80%. Like I don't want to go
Hmm.
move boxes and boxes of rally towels, but then we do an event like Volleyball Day in Nebraska, and you're like, wow, it's worth it. So
Yeah.
it's like there's that really small percentage of it that makes up for it, and it it helps when it's negative 10 degrees and you're at a football game.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
And
makes up for it
you
somehow.
hit it, in my opinion. It's like getting to go on the field, seeing the stuff
Or it's
for
like your
everything that
friends will
we
be
do.
like, yeah, and your friends will be like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. You're on the sideline in the football game. And you're like, I can see nothing. I saw none of the game.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool, but I
Exactly.
can't see anything.
Yeah. No, exactly. Exactly. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah. You're like, you're the 10th person I brought out
yeah.
here.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Bailey, I want to say I
Okay.
appreciate.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, of course. Let me know if you need anything else.
Yeah.
Thanks. Have a
Yeah.
good
No worries.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. You too. Happy
See ya.
Thanksgiving. All right. Bye
See
bye.
ya.